We are live. I think I, as per usual, am just going to check on my little Facebook app. Do.
You never know where we may end up.
You really don't.
Especially when I'm streaming it here. We have no idea where it is.
We're good. You never know with technology if things are going to work at all.
At least we're not delayed.
At least we don't have a delay. At least there's no feedback. And at least I get to hear you instead of the sawing of bricks that is going on outside my apartment right now, because my building is brand new. So people are moving in here and there's still construction going on. So the entire entryway, like 5 floors down into this building, they're putting all the bricks in and it's concrete saws.
Oh, God.
Oh, it's a lot. It's a lot.
Yeah, that would not be very soothing for
It's very good to wake up to, said no one ever.
Ever.
It is abrasive, to put it mildly.
Mildly.
So I feel like I haven't seen you in 12 hours because we just spent all weekend in Chicago together. We had Chicago Baby Show. And yeah, it was a great weekend and it was busy and I'm still recovering. So why not come back and continue unpacking your house and do some work? So this is our monthly Q&A on breastfeeding and or pumping, sponsored by Evenflo Feeding, who I did get to see this weekend as well. And it'd been a hot second since I'd seen those ladies. So that was very nice and high, even though we barely got to chat because we're all too busy, which is good. So we have been doing this for a few years now with my friend Shari Criso, who's on here. So you all know me. Most of you know her, obviously. But I will let you give a little intro and then we'll get cracking.
Yeah, it does feel like I haven't seen you in 12 hours, Jamie. It was a great weekend and
lots of pizza.
It was awesome to see a bunch of you there. It's definitely our highlight when we can see you in person. So I am Shari Criso. I'm a registered nurse, a certified nurse midwife, and an international board certified lactation consultant. I've been working with Evenflo Feeding for the past 7 years, and actually joined them to help design the advanced Evenflo double electric breast pump many years ago when they wanted to create something that has all the best features for moms when they're pumping. And so they asked me to help them design it. And it also includes my education. So you get both of my breastfeeding classes, breastfeeding and pumping, when you get this pump. And
so when you buy it, she's on the box.
I come in the box so I can help you.
In the box, on the box, around the box. It's preposition day.
I'm all over that box.
Lots of prepositions.
What I love too is that this is the new Hush model. So Evenflo's always taking feedback and always making improvements. And so this is the new quieter version of the Evenflo Advanced. And so that's our prize today too, right?
Yep.
Awesome.
Just giving a pump away. So we need hearts. We need hearts. We're going to need a lot of hearts today because, quite frankly, it's Thursday.
Yeah.
And sometimes you need that little boost to get through the week.
Yeah.
So we try our best.
Definitely some good hearts today. And there's also a link right here in the post that you can click on afterwards to enter to win. And it will take you over. It also give you a whole bunch of really great videos that will help you learn things about pumping, how to get more milk out, things about flange sizing, all of the stuff.
And I think this is very fitting that we're doing this at the end of the month because it is August, which is nuts. September is 2 days away.
It's crazy. The summer's over. My kids are going to school, back to school.
And they're old.
And they're both going to be in high school. I could cry. No, so my young
across the room.
High school. So I'll have 2 in high school, both in high school. And today I'm going to take my oldest daughter driving for the first time with her permit. So that's kind of freaking me out. It's kind of freaking me out. Like, she's driving, Jamie.
They were little. They were so little when I met them, and now they're old. And well, okay, so also what is crazy, side note, and then we'll actually get to work. I was on my personal Facebook really quick today going over some stuff. And years ago in New York, when I lost my job, people started hiring me privately to like set their registries up for them and like help them assemble their crib and figures everything out they needed and whatever. My very, 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 very first client ever, she moved to San Francisco a couple years after. Her daughter started 4th grade yesterday. Like,
yeah. It goes fast. So the lesson of the day is, no matter what is happening right now with your little baby, enjoy every moment, the good and the bad, the tired, the awake, the whatever, because
it'll be gone
in a flash. It's gone in a flash.
When they lose one of the saddest things to me about children growing up is when they lose the baby voice and the toddler voice, and they start speaking like not like actual humans, but actual humans. And it's like they just lose that sweet little weird voice, and it's a mess.
Yeah. So I'll be driving with Jade later on.
That's insane. Mm-hmm. So we do have quite a few questions today, and then I will go through the live feed and pull questions as well. And I tried to use my iPad, but she is dead, and they don't charge fast enough to be able to actually use during this, because I'll use my phone. We will somehow manage.
Can I show something really quick?
Yeah.
I found a video of us from quite a while ago, and I just wanted to play a little clip. It's 30 seconds, but it's super funny, and it really was about you. You were moving at the time.
Okay.
Can I play it?
Sure. I have not seen this since we did it, so I'm nervous.
I'm doing it for you. So Jamie and I have been doing this since what, 2010? A long time. Okay, this was Jamie in my store when he'd take the train out to come visit. Here we go, ready? See if it works. See if I can do it. Hold on.
Oh, I'm worried.
Carrying species, okay? We are not a following species like horses.
Wheels were invented to push supplies, not children.
Exactly.
I just came up with that one.
I love that. Awesome.
And I still love strollers, by the way. And I moved to a new apartment before I left for the summer, and I used the Be Ready, because I have way too many strollers in my apartment, but I use the Be Ready to move my computer across the neighborhood. Why not?
I just had to do that, James.
I was a child and you had big hair.
Nothing's changed except the hair. You look so young in that video. Isn't that funny?
Was I 14?
Something like that. Yeah, close.
Good Lord, I need to use moisturizer or something. How I have aged.
You look amazing, Jamie.
Oh, man.
You look amazing. But that's what happens. See, that's what we're talking about. Time goes fast. You look great. Did you like my hair?
It's also,
I just had, well, first of all, you just moved to your new apartment. I was like, this is so perfect. You were moving then?
It's also crazy to notice camera quality, how it has changed over the years.
Oh, yeah.
That's bananas.
Mm-hmm.
So I have a sensible Google Doc on my phone full of questions. So we're going to do some question and answer. And then don't forget, if you like this video, hit the like, hit the heart, leave a comment. And then you click the link to go enter to win the Evenflo Advanced Double Electric Breast Pump. And that's just how we operate here. So my bags are just very serious under my eyes too.
Stop. That was not meant to do that.
Oh man, now I have a complex.
They all enjoy that. They all enjoy it.
Kindle Younger, which is what that video just made me realize that I'm Kindle older.
Kendall Younger.
Kendall has a question. My baby is 3 months old, and I want him to learn self-soothing, but don't know if he's still too young. He still wakes up 2 to 4 times per night and won't go back to sleep until I feed him. One time I managed to get him back to sleep, but he woke up 5 minutes later. So I feel like he's actually hungry, not just having trouble bridging sleep cycles. Mm-hmm. Is it too early to try to get him to sleep longer? Should I just keep feeding him when he wakes up? Or could I be reinforcing bad habits that will be harder to break later on?
Yeah. Okay. So a couple of different points there that we need to address. The baby's 3 months old?
Yeah, 3 months old.
So babies that are 3 months old eat frequently, and especially at night. Sometimes they just wake a lot during the night. So, if the baby is waking and then going onto the breast and eating, it's a sign that they're hungry. Babies are not going to eat unless they're actually hungry. Okay. So if you're seeing that he's actually gulping, he's taking milk, he's hungry, and you don't want to hold that back. The frequent feedings during the night when the baby wants it is going to help to maintain your milk supply in sync with the baby. So you don't want to restrict that at all. A couple things that could be happening: babies have normal growth spurts at 3 weeks, 6 weeks, around 3 months and 6 months. And so he's 3 months old. He may be going through a growth spurt. And what that means is he may be eating frequently. You have the most amount of milk during the night. It's when your prolactin levels are highest. And so lots of times babies will wake frequently during the night, especially when they're going through a growth spurt, to make up for making sure they're getting enough. And then the last thing I guess I would address from the comment was just the idea of creating a bad habit in an infant. And I've heard this so many times from parents, whether it's about feeding them when they want to eat, picking them up when they're crying, soothing them, to sleep, whatever it is. And the answer is you can't create a bad habit in an infant. A baby that age is crying or waking or wanting you for a reason. It's the only way that they communicate. And you want to respond to those requests. Okay. That's what it is. It's a request. They're not manipulating you. And this is what drives me crazy when I hear physicians or other people talking about, or even parents like mother-in-laws, family saying, don't keep picking up that baby there. You're going to create a bad habit. They're not manipulating you. They're looking for soothing. They're looking for reassurance. You're their entire world. And they want to know that when they cry, or that you're going to be responsive to them. And that actually develops them into, in more independent children and adults. It's not the opposite. It actually reinforces that sense of security in them, and that helps with independence. So I would not, ignore your baby's demands when they want it.
Yeah. And that's also, you and I talk about this frequently.
Yeah.
And it also is one of those things, like, obviously with young babies, there's like, they sleep for a couple hours, they wake up, they want to eat. They sleep for a couple hours, they wake up, they want to eat, because their stomachs are so small, they need to be replenished. And that's why it's so bananas when pediatricians who aren't as well versed in breastfeeding and everything as they should be, think that it is something that you need to do to get your child to sleep through the night completely. Like an infant, a fresh baby, should not be sleeping 6 to 7 to 8 hours in one stretch.
Yeah, exactly. And you're not going to spoil them, and they shouldn't be sleeping through. They may, if they're doing it on their own and they're getting, and they're peeing and they're pooping. Nobody's saying wake them up if they're doing well and they're eating enough. But if they're waking, there's a reason. And one other thing that you can consider too, there's actually 2 more things. Sometimes babies will wake an hour later, like she's talking about, because it's hunger. But sometimes it's because maybe you didn't get the burp out. Like, babies need to burp. And especially if you have a lot of milk and your baby's gulping, but anybody who swallows air. So breastfed babies swallow air, and quite often they need to burp. And if you're not burping them, especially at night when it's very tempting to feed them and just like go back to sleep. Don't try to like rock the boat and burp them. But that little bit of air that would be easy for it to just come out if you burp them could be waking them 45 minutes to an hour later when it starts to go into the intestine, and now it hurts. And now you've got to wait it out as it comes out. So that's another reason I'll see babies waking sooner than they need to if it's not hunger. You want to burp them.
I think, you know what we've not touched on, and we probably need to do this. I mean, I don't know if you can upload the video right now or whatever, but we've not talked about your burping method in quite a while.
I actually played it yesterday on my Q&A with Rebecca.
Oh.
It was really good. If you want me to pull it up, I can pull it up and we can play it.
It's just a very good video.
It's a really good video. I actually have it on my Facebook page. There's like something flying around. Something flying around here. It's on my Facebook page at the top. It's the featured video on my video section. But I could play it if you want me to.
Yeah. Good. Go to her Facebook page when we're done with this and find the burping video.
Yeah.
Because it's very, very good.
Yeah. And I'll try to pull it up. We can play it in a little while. Let me see if I can get it up.
So Aaron Vincent has a question.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's what they do. They leave the questions. As an exclusive pumper, all the cleaning of parts and bottles gets tedious. I know that it is not recommended to put parts into the fridge in between pumping, but I have friends that have done it and baby has been fine. Thoughts?
So I'm not really sure why she feels like it's not recommended.
It's one of the when the CDC came out with their new like breast pump part cleaning guidelines.
Okay, I don't agree. That's not the only thing I don't agree with that's out there. We've had other issues with CDC recommendations before. I guess it all depends on how you're. My thought would be that the storage of it in what kind of a clean bag so that you're not picking up bacteria within the refrigerator would be my biggest concern, and maybe the concern that they have. But refrigerating milk, it's very hard to grow bacteria, with breast milk. Okay. It's alive. It's got antibodies. And so refrigerating it, to me, what I would say is if you don't want to just throw it right into a bag and into the refrigerator, then I would say just rinse it and throw it in a bag and throw it in the refrigerator. I really do not believe these parts need to be washed in between uses, especially when you're at work and it's making it very difficult to do. And then, where are you actually drying them? So rinse them off, throw them into a bag, throw them into the refrigerator. It'll be fine. Yeah. I think anything that here's my take on everything breastfeeding and pumping. Okay. When we know that the risk is super, super low, okay, sometimes these recommendations just make everything a mountain into a molehill, right? When we know the risk is super, super small and it creates a risk that could cause someone not to pump as often at work, the risk does not outweigh the benefit to me. Does that make sense? So,
and this is also something we went back and forth with and was highly controversial over the winter season with the CDC saying that if a mother has the flu, she should not nurse and she should pump and give the baby pumped milk. Well, this also takes for granted not every baby will take a bottle, and we know that the best way to keep a baby healthy while you're sick is to breastfeed them, because also as the baby nurses, the ducts react to the saliva and the milk changes. And then the outcry when the CDC pushed this article out again, and it blew up on both of my page was a mess for a long time. And people were like, Jamie, leave this advice to the pediatricians and other people who know this stuff. And I'm like,
I remember.
I get this, but like I've been working this field for a long time. I've talked with a lot of IBCLCs about this.
Told me about this.
This is bad advice. So finally, the CDC recanted all of that, right? And they kind of stepped back a little bit and updated the article. But you have to nurse like.
It's the same stupid information of like anything that's going to make it harder for moms to breastfeed and pump. I'm not okay with it unless there's some real big risk. It's the same thing with like medications. Okay. It's the same thing with, alcohol and breastfeeding. It's the same thing with diet, of having to have the perfect diet when you're breastfeeding. All these things just make it more of a challenge in moms' minds that somehow they're not able to breastfeed, or puts all these barriers in place that prevent moms from being able to breastfeed or pump. And it's hard enough. I mean, let's face it, pumping is hard enough when you're at work. You need to, add one more thing in. So, I don't really know where that's coming from. Stephanie's commenting here and saying that it was created from one single incident. There you go. And what incident of what? Like what happened, and how did it even happen? Again, maybe you're putting it into a refrigerator at work where there's lots of other stuff. What I would do,
maybe there's some raw chicken laying around.
Exactly. What I would do is I wouldn't even put it into a refrigerator. I'd put it into my cooler. That's what I recommend doing, is putting them back into a bag, back into my cooler with ice packs, where I'm storing my pumped milk.
You have quality control over that area.
Exactly. Come on.
Yeah. So there we go. Soapbox down.
I did pull up that burping video at any point if you want to see it. So. Okay.
Let's do a couple more questions and then we'll go to that. And then I know we also did that video when I was at your house over the pump, and we can go through the pump checklist and everything with that.
For sure.
We're going multimedia here, folks. We're going multimedia.
Testing the skills, Jamie.
I'm putting Shari through her paces. Leslie, no, I got ahead of myself. Claire Burchell. Claire. For 3 days now, I've been feeding every half hour with little spurts on the breast for 5 minutes. These little spurts are definitely all I want is mommy sucks.
Mm-hmm.
My question is, she's not settled at all during the day with little to no naps at only 6 weeks. What am I doing wrong?
It's the same answer as the last question. It's, again, most likely growth spurt. 6 weeks, again, like I said, 3 weeks, 6 weeks, 3 months, 6 months, typical times for those normal growth spurts where babies just want to eat every hour. They're regulating your milk supply. How you make more milk is supply and demand. The more the baby drains the breast, the more milk you will respond to and make. Okay, it's really the only way to increase milk supply when a baby's going through a growth spurt like that. It's the best way to increase milk supply. In fact, all these other remedies and food and cookies and teas, all these other things work okay when in conjunction with frequent nursing and milk expression and removal of milk from the breast. So that is really, really important. Again, I wouldn't limit that. There's nothing wrong. And that mommy time that she's describing, right? That's another reason why babies breastfeed. It's not just food. Breastfeeding is not just about the food. It's the nutrition of the food. It's the antibodies and the medicine of breast milk that keeps your baby healthy for short and long-term health. And it's also the bonding and the time the baby feels close to mom, and it is necessary. And so if you think it's just that, it's just sucking. Like you'll hear people say it's just for sucking. It's not really, they're not really eating. No, they're really doing something. They may not be eating a lot, but they're really doing something that is a necessary thing. And why? I always look at everything from birth. I was a midwife, from pregnancy, from birth, from breastfeeding, from all of it, all of our parenting, what we do, from a aspect of why is our body designed this way? Why is it that we bring our babies to our skin, to our naked skin every couple hours, when they're infants? Why is it that we feed that way? There's a reason. There's more to it. And bringing our babies to our skin is just as important as the milk that's transferring through the breast. And so what I want to say is that sucking mommy time is super important. And if you are exclusively pumping, or you're formula feeding, or you're bottle feeding in any way, or even just, sometimes breastfeeding, nursing, sometimes bottle feeding, I still encourage you to bring the baby to your skin and bottle feed at the chest, at the breast. Okay, get that skin to skin time, regardless of how you're feeding your baby. Too often when a baby's fed a bottle, the baby's handed off to someone else to feed, and that's okay once in a while. Take a break, but don't lose out on the other aspect of breastfeeding that is just as important as the milk.
Yeah. So now I'm getting feedback.
Oh, really?
I can just hear myself coming from you now.
I don't hear.
Now it's fine.
Okay, good.
So for those, I'm just taking a poll. For those of you in the room right now, how many of you did skin to skin with one or more of your children? Mm-hmm. And if you are expecting, how many of you plan on doing skin to skin? Mm-hmm. Just give some hearts or some likes. You don't have to comment or whatever. If you feel like commenting, amazing, great. Takes a little bit more time to type out. Skin to skin is very good. And so, like, you know, my best friend Brian and his wife just had their little baby, and he's 3 months old, I think today or yesterday, which is bananas because, of course, he's wearing a 9-month-old outfit. He's in good shape.
He's obviously he's breastfeeding well.
He is very well, but he's also, I meant to bring this up earlier, he is one of those babies that does sleep through the night. He sleeps through the night, no issue, and he is gaining weight, and breastfeeding is nailing it. Amy's nailing it. But when little baby was born, when little Dean was born, when I luckily was close to the hospital when that happened, so like gave them some time to hang out, and then I went to visit, and I was like, Brian, you're doing skin to skin with this boy, because it is hormonally, you know, obviously it's a little bit different what's going on with the female, but I feel it's very important for men as well.
Definitely. Dads can do skin to skin as well.
It's very good. It's very calming. It's my favorite thing in the world. Just a little sleeping baby.
A newborn, it helps to regulate their body temperature, their heart rate, their breathing, as well as the microbiome that we're learning so much more about, of, you know, colonizing a newborn with mom's bacteria early on, you know, and it happens through the milk with breastfeeding. It happens through the skin. You want that to happen. It's how the baby colonizes and how that bacteria grows to create good health. And so you want skin to skin, and you want that to be yours. That's really, really important. You know, it used to be that in the hospital, as soon as the baby was born, the nurses would take the baby and they would do all these things. The baby needs to come, if the baby's okay and not, you know, having any kind of distress or issues when they're born, they need to come up onto the mother's chest and spend as much time with the mother, skin to skin, as possible, not with other people like hospital staff. You want to colonize with your own bacteria. That's the point.
Yep. And I also learned, just side note, and then we'll get back to breastfeeding because, you know, I get a sidetrack.
You could get really sidetracked here.
When I worked at that birth education center and I went through all these childbirth classes, that's one thing that fascinated me was the bacteria when they are delivered vaginally.
Yes.
Because they're getting all of the bacteria from down there as well. And it's all very important to, like, get it, and, you know.
Again, like what I just said before, right, Jamie? Like, our bodies are designed a certain way. Mm-hmm. And the fact that babies are born very close to the rectum, to all the bacteria in your body. I mean, think about how a baby comes out. You know, their faces are just like, that's where it's
all up in it.
It's all up in it.
Or sometimes they do this.
For a reason. And sometimes they do this. Yes. Very infrequently, but they do. So it was a private joke. I showed him a picture of something. But I mean, I think that it's really important to always remember that going with what our bodies we're designed and how we work is always going to be the healthiest thing for the baby, and keeping it as close to that as possible and trying to simulate that as much as possible, even when you're talking about breast pumping. You know, we've talked about this so many times before when I talk about, like, my 3-stage pumping method. You know, is it my method? Yeah, it's my method in that I've designed it into a pump and how to use your pump to do it. But what is it really? It's just about simulating what a baby does, because they know instinctually what to do to get your milk out and to get those letdowns of milk. And so our bodies are designed perfectly.
And I think this might be a good time to go into the video, the checklist. But the other night, I did send you that link to that How to Choose a Perfect Breast Pump article that shall remain nameless. And it talks again about like, make sure you have a pump that is phase 1 and phase 2 with a dial. And that is not how babies nurse.
No, it is not. No, it is not. And not every baby sucks at the same rate and speed. Not every mom needs the same levels or suction speed levels to have a milk ejection reflex. This is why it's so important to have those independent speed and suction controls on your pump, just like the Evenflo does. And again, like I said, when we worked on this pump, super important that it has these controls separately. You are all smart enough. I trust you all out there enough that I can teach you how to use it and you can comprehend and do that, okay? Just make something that is like, okay, just push a button and it'll do it for you at some preset level will not work for a very big majority, will not work for a majority of women to let down.
And yes, I'm sure most of you are not shocked that articles about breastfeeding and breast pumps come up in my feed, and I do read them at night.
and then he sends them to me.
I text into Shari with eye roll emojis, just like, read this.
So true. So true.
Bless them.
Oh, you need to aggravate me right before I'm about to close my eyes.
It's like, of course, we're both going to sleep right now, but you need to read this and make a mental note. So I think people don't understand. It's like, I cannot turn the baby world off easily.
We cannot. We don't.
It's like, this is like my field and this is what I do and I'm totally into it.
Well, but that's why it's good to have people to talk to who can completely understand, Jamie.
Right. Let's show that video while we're here and we're talking about
this is a video that Jamie and I made. Well, Jamie made it, and then I kind of added some stuff to it the last time you were here, which was only 2 weeks ago.
What?
Or 3 weeks ago? What? It was only like 2-3 weeks ago.
Oh my God, where'd this month go?
Right? It was just a few weeks ago. You were here. We were literally sitting right here. We did the live stream right from here, and then we did the video, and I didn't even know we were doing it. So Jamie's like, we're going to do a video right now. I'm like, okay, where? So we made this video for you. It's very good because it'll explain the different features of the breast pump, and each time we talk about different features, it will teach you something about what you need to know to get the most out of your pump anyway, and how to choose one when you're going to be picking one, whether it's through your insurance or purchasing at retail.
It's also on my Instagram TV if you need to go back and rewatch. So
there you go. Okay, good. I'm going to play it. Hold on. Here we go. Now I got to find it. Sorry.
I'm Jamie.
I'm Shari.
And we are going to give you a rundown of the Evenflo Advanced Double Electric Breast Pump, including all of its features, show you how it works, just get you educated. The Evenflo has a closed system. Why don't you tell us about that?
Breast pumps come either open or closed. With the Evenflo Advanced, the closed system means there is a little piece that Jamie's holding right there that will block any milk from splashing into your tubing, contaminating your tubing or your pump. You don't want anything getting into that tube, and that little part's going to prevent that.
Awesome. Another great feature of the Evenflo pump is independent speed and suction controls. Why don't you talk about why that's so important?
Yeah, moms need control over the speed and suction on their breast pump. They need to be able to do it themselves and not have the pump do it for you. The main reason is because you're trying to simulate what the baby does when the baby latches to the breast, and you need to be able to control the speed and the suction. That will help you to get multiple letdowns of milk. That means you'll be able to stimulate your milk to let down more than one time, which will enable you to empty the breast more efficiently and maintain your milk supply.
The Evenflo also comes with 3 different flanges included. Why don't we talk about why flange size is so important?
Flanges are the piece that you put your nipple into. This goes up against your body. And just like all moms come in different sizes, the flanges come in different sizes too. It has to fit right, or you're going to feel pain and you won't get the milk out. You want a pump that comes with 3 sizes or multiple sizes included in the box, because these flanges need to be sized when they're on your body. You have to try it out. That's what I love about having them there.
Yeah. 2 other features of the phalanges with this pump, they are silicone, so they're much softer on your skin and on your breast, and the neck is also angled. So instead of having to do the lean forward and whatever to keep milk from backing up, you can actually sit up properly while you pump, and that's less strain on your back.
Totally.
Great
Slouch-free pumping
feature here. Another feature of this pump that a lot of people don't think about is the ability to use batteries. Now, why is this so important?
It's such an important feature that you often don't realize you need until you don't have it. And having the battery feature means that you're going to be portable with this pump. When you need it, it's available to you. If there's a blackout, you can still pump.
You got a pump in your car. You can knock yourself out. Batteries are great. Just make sure you use good batteries. Don't get the dollar store variety, and then use good batteries in here, and you'll be good to go with this guy.
You never want to be without it and have it.
We can edit that out. Another really good thing about the Evenflo pump is it has bottle holders in the back. So if you're pumping at night, you don't have to worry about your bottle knocking over whenever they're contained. They also come with Shari's breastfeeding and pumping classes included.
Totally. 2 full-length 90-minute classes that you can watch anytime, anywhere, on your mobile device, on your computer. It will really help you to get breastfeeding off to the right start and return back to work and maintain your milk.
It's the only pump that comes with education. It's a big deal. This is also the Hush, which is now much quieter than the initial pump.
Absolutely. Evenflo always listens to feedback and is always looking to improve every day on their products. And so the new Hush model will keep things just a little bit quieter.
Now, to get this pump, you can go to evenflobreastpump.com, and that website will actually direct you on how to get this pump covered through a DME and by your insurance.
That's right. Free, completely covered.
Free. You can also get it at retailers like Target. It's out there, it's available, and it's also very, very affordable.
Absolutely.
So again, closed system, independent speed and suction, multiple phalange sizes, batteries, and then you have the bonuses of bottle holders, classes, everything's there.
Yep.
So this is it, the Evenflo Advanced Double Electric Breast Pump, the new Hush. Hush.
Well, there are a couple things I noticed during that video. One is I need a haircut. 2 is I don't know what is wrong with me. I can barely dress myself as an adult. And I always have some kind of struggle with the collars on my shirt.
You gotta be easier on yourself. We were up super late that night before. You don't remember.
Oh, we were up, I know. But
we did that quickly. Come on. And
we nailed it. We nailed it.
I'm good on that video. except for the part I started laughing.
Well, surprise, at least I kept it together.
Surprise, surprise. No, that's a good video though. It really does go through everything. Show you.
That's it in a nutshell. That is it right there.
And don't forget to enter to win. There's a link here to make sure you enter to win the pump today.
Oh Lord. There's a couple good questions I want to get to here. Okay. Leslie Ann, I'm assuming this is not, Leslie Ann Warren. My baby is a big breast puller, still latched. He arches back. He gets so interested in anything else that's going on. Is that still a sign of needing burping?
So yeah, pulling is definitely a sign of burping in my experience. Again, we talked about this yesterday too. The way that the baby's at the breast when they're comfortable, when they're latched well, when the milk is flowing, you'll see the baby very, very relaxed and focused. They're suck, swallow, breathe, suck, swallow. And then what'll happen is at some point, the baby can start arching and pulling at the breast. Sometimes it's a sign that they're done with that side and they're just like ready to switch sides. There may be, the milk's not flowing as fast, but more often than not, it has to do with the fact that the baby swallowed a big air bubble. And you may see this like 2 minutes after you actually latch the baby. You get that first initial letdown. It's a heavy, fast letdown, and the baby gulps really hard, sort of like when you swallow air when you're drinking, like soda or beer or something carbonated, and you swallow really hard and you're like, ugh, like you could feel it. That arch is typically because they swallowed air. And some moms will have to take baby off breast couple times during the feeding in order to get a good burp out. But usually, yeah, that arching it's one of the 2 signs I give moms to take cues from their babies about burping. Burping's not just about, oh, when the feeding is over, then I'll burp the baby. Yeah, that's a good time to do that. But 2 things you want to look for is, one, that arching sensation, that arching in the baby, and the other is the baby falling asleep at the breast. Because when I teach burping, the baby needs to be awake and not crying in order to really get a burp out easily. And so if you wait till the baby is completely asleep at the breast, which they usually like to fall asleep at the breast, it's very hard to get that air out. And earlier, like we were talking about, if you put the baby down without burping and they do have that air, they're going to be up 45 minutes or an hour later. It's going to be really hard to deal with because now it needs to pass all the way through them, come out the other end, right? So, don't wait for them to completely fall into a deep, deep sleep. As soon as you start to see them sleeping, they're not really swallowing, take them off and burp them at that point. Because that's going to be the time when you can get it out.
Sensible.
Mm-hmm.
Here's something we've not touched on in quite a while. So I just think this is good to bring back up again. Summer Dawn Lynn says, I have a question. My breast milk smells sour during my feeding sessions and it's freshly expressed. Does it mean I have excess lipase?
Mm-hmm. Very possible. The only thing I would just watch out for is if it's sour, did you leave it out in a warm temperature? I mean, that's the only other thing. If the milk is, sometimes breast milk can go bad. It's not easy to make it go bad. It can be left out at room temperature for several hours and still be fine. But you don't want to leave it, where it's hot. Just like any other food, it can go bad. So just make sure that you're not talking about really soured milk. That kind of breast milk sour. But if you do have high lipase, it's an enzyme that's naturally there in breast milk, and it's actually there for a good reason. It helps to digest the fats that are in the milk, so that when the baby swallows the milk, it's what's helping to digest it once it gets into baby. Okay, so it's not a problem that you have lipase. It's just that nature didn't know you were going to pump this stuff and put it in a bottle and feed it to your baby. So if they were drinking it right off the breast, lipase is not an issue, right? When you pump it and it starts to pre-digest the milk before it actually goes to the baby, that's where you'll have that sour or even soapy smell to the milk. And that's all that's happening. And so it's not that the milk is bad. And what I would do is just, as long as the baby's drinking it, and quite often they will just drink it like that, there's nothing you need to do about it. Some moms don't notice it until they pump it and store it, like freezing it and defrosting it. Others, you might notice it right away. And that's what it sounds like is happening there. She's pumping fresh milk into a bottle, and within a little while, it's already starting to have that soapy, sour smell to it.
Now, this is just a random question. I guess I've never really even thought of before. So if lipase is there, obviously is the enzyme to like help break down fats in your milk and digest it, does that mean, and obviously it varies woman to woman, and we may not have an answer to this, so I'm just curious. Is there anything you can do for your diet to get rid of that at all? It's just kind of there, and that's how your breast milk is made.
And it's a good question, because it goes to what I mentioned before about there's very little that you can do to change the way that your milk is made in your body by what you eat. If you're missing certain types of fatty acids in your diet, then yes, you may be missing some of that in your milk, and it's good to make sure that you're taking DHA and all these other things that help to put that into the breast milk. But it's very hard to change the composition of your milk because it's a protective thing for your body. You know, we don't want breast milk to be dependent on what mom's really eating.
No.
We don't want that to happen. How would we have survived famines and, you know, wars and times where there was not enough food? We don't want it to be a function of what do you eat is whether that's going to be good enough milk for an infant. That milk needs to be perfect, just the way the amniotic fluid is made perfectly by the body. You know, you want to stay hydrated, you want to stay healthy, but your body's smart. It knows how to make this milk perfectly, and it's a matter of survival. And so, no, what you eat really doesn't affect it too much. And maybe in this case, it would have been a good thing if we could, but
yeah.
But on the other hand, it's kind of good that it doesn't impact it too much.
Fair. Shannon has a question. My daughter's pediatrician told me I should no longer be nursing my 15-month-old at night. She said she's seen more babies that are breastfed than bottle fed that have baby bottle rot. She wakes once a night, 4 to 5 nights every week. And then when she wakes to eat, it's not sucking to sleep, but she eats both breasts. The pediatrician said she's big enough, she shouldn't need to eat. So I need to stop nursing her at night. My question is, should I stop nursing her? I've been trying, but she screams and screams. Last night, it took an hour of my husband holding her at 4 to get her to sleep.
This drives me crazy. Okay, like this is so completely off. And I think that before we even get into the answer to the question, because it's a good question and everybody's going to want to know the answer, and I do hear this, but to have a pediatrician telling you to stop nursing your baby at night at 15 months old is just so wrong. It's so wrong. It's misinformation. It's harmful. It's not just misinformation. It's harmful. We talked about it before. Babies need to nurse at night, sometimes even when they're older. They are still waking up, you know, to cause a baby to scream all night because you didn't want to put them to breast when that's not even your choice to not do it. It's not like she's the one who's complaining that she doesn't want to do that. And to make up a reason that the research has already told us is not the case is just wrong. It's just wrong. So let's get into, and it's like this for so many things, unfortunately, with breastfeeding. And Brittany's saying here in the chat, get a new pediatrician. Yes, that is the right answer. Get a new pediatrician. And unfortunately, you know, there aren't that many that are as knowledgeable as they need to be in breastfeeding. There are some. Yeah. There are some pediatricians who are amazing. They become lactation consultants. I mean, I'm a midwife. I became a lactation consultant to become more of an expert in this particular field of medicine. And breastfeeding and breast milk is a field of medicine that they are not, for the most part, pediatricians are not specialists in. Okay, so you don't want to take every single word and say, okay, they must know, they're the baby doctor. Fortunately, pediatricians get very little education about breastfeeding in medical school, and you'll hear it because you'll hear things that you're like, I even read that's not right. Okay, you know, I know the research doesn't say that. And so always take it with a grain of salt. Look it up yourself. There's good information, and come join my private group. Watch my
also, you know what? I feel there's a lot of people see the term like IBCLC by your name or another lactation consultant's name, but I don't think they understand the actual breakdown into what that entails to get that credential. So can you touch on that for the people that are here? Because I think a lot of people are just like, oh, she knows about breastfeeding. There's a lot more.
There's a lot more, you know. So like I was saying, you know, as a career, my profession is midwifery. I'm a midwife. That's my degree. That's what I did as a job. That's what I did as my career. I delivered babies, took care of women throughout their, you know, pregnancy, their births and all of that. And IBCLC is a certification that is a specialist in breastfeeding. That means International Board Certified Lactation Consultant. And there's different types of lactation consultants as well. So that can be confusing, where some of them are, a few-day course, which is great for helping and supporting on, some issues when it relates to breastfeeding. But then there's IBCLC, which is an international certification and much more in-depth study into the physiology of breastfeeding, into the mechanics of breastfeeding, into treating and supporting moms, and both the mother-baby dyad. So it's the only real profession that is treating both the mother and the baby at the same time, and really should be the main caregiver when it comes to breastfeeding and if there's any issues involved. Pediatricians can be sort of that support with the IBCLC. If the baby has a tongue tie or a lip tie, the surgeon, the oral surgeon may be the person who's doing the procedure, but the IBCLC still needs to be the main point of contact and care when it comes to any kind of breastfeeding issue. Again, they're the only one who's really going to understand both mother and baby and treating them together. It's the one place in medicine, okay, besides obstetrics when the baby's still inside, but I'm talking about two separate individuals that are being treated medically as one. Think about that. There is no other time that happens. Right. And so when you're talking about a pediatrician and, they're not the expert. So it requires hundreds of hours of training.
That's what I was going to bring up.
Hundreds of hours of work with moms and babies, extensive testing and extensive continuing education. We have to recertify every 10 years. Jamie knows I just did that 2 years ago. I studied a lot. It's not an easy test. And so, we stay up to date and we're required to, and it should be that way. It should be that way. Things are changing all the time. You will always want to have the most current information. And it's also an international certification, which means that we take the same exam on the same day all over the world, which is really amazing. So the standards are pretty, stringent. And
there you go. I just thought that would be very interesting.
Yeah, if you're having issues with breastfeeding, that's who you want to really reach out to. Let's talk about the dental issue, though, that this pediatrician told her to start breastfeeding at night. The idea that because the baby's got milk in their mouth, that this is where it's coming from. The thought that if the baby has milk sitting on the teeth during the night, that it's going to somehow rot the teeth, because we do see that with bottles. When we're talking about juice in a bottle, things like that, babies can have issues. Two things. One is mechanically, when a baby breastfeeds at the breast, the milk doesn't keep flowing when the baby stops sucking. So you don't have the same issue of that dripping and pooling that you do with a bottle. Okay. Even if they fall asleep with the breast in their mouth, and all of you guys, that happens, right? The milk does stop. And so they're not sitting there bathed in milk while they have breast in their mouth. The other thing too is when a baby's sucking at the breast, the nipples way back beyond the teeth line. Okay, so it's not actually hitting the teeth in most cases. It's way back into the baby's mouth. It should be more beyond the soft palate, the nipple. So that part of it is not an issue either. The last part, it's not the last part, but another piece of this is that the research does not show that it's the milk that's causing the teeth to decay. It's a bacteria that can be in the baby's mouth that when combined with saliva can cause tooth decay. Okay, and it's this Streptococcus mutans that they can catch from adults. So from a mother's mouth saliva, that's from other caregivers, the baby can get this bacteria in their mouth. The good news is that breast milk also has a component called lactoferrin in it that kills this Streptococcus, this particular bacteria. So it's very protective of the baby's teeth if it's breast milk. And that's different than other foods. So, one is to help prevent the baby from catching this bacteria. About 20% of the population does have it in their mouth. You don't want to do any big wet kisses on the baby. Kissing the baby on their cheek, kissing them is good. Okay. Yeah, kissing the baby is good. That's going to help with the microbiome. That's going to help to, transfer the good bacteria. But you also you want to be careful about transferring the bad bacteria, and that can happen from mouth to mouth. I would avoid like sticking their pacifiers in your mouth to clean them, things like that. That sometimes does happen. You do that, but it's probably not the best idea. And then who knows? The research keeps changing. There's also research to show that if babies are exposed to this bacteria before they get teeth, that somehow it causes some immunity to it as well. So, we don't really know exactly the answer to everything.
And that's why you just kind of do your best with the information and you keep going.
And you breastfeed and you think like, if this was really true, I mean, can you imagine all throughout history that babies have been breastfed forever, right? So does it really make sense that breast milk would somehow be, harmful to their teeth? Detrimental to their teeth. Please, yeah. No. Now that being, there is some research that does show that when breast milk is mixed with other sugar, it can be even more harmful than without the breast milk. So this is interesting, So I guess like if you're feeding your baby solids and there's sugar, rinse their mouths, wipe their mouths twice a day, get good with that oral hygiene early on with your baby, get them used to it even before their teeth come in. Once in the morning, once in the evening, wipe down their mouth, their gums, their teeth.
There's actually just complete side note, at Chicago Baby Show, I got to see a new little like gum toothbrush that Frida's coming out with.
Yeah.
And it's one of those that fits over your fingertip. So it's very soft and they're not going to like chomp down when they start to teeth, but it is triple sided.
Yeah.
So it actually can get the top and bottom of the gums at the same time on all sides of the gum line.
Yeah.
And it's very, very, very good.
Yeah. Yeah, more than anything, before they have teeth, what you're doing is just getting them used to having your fingers in their mouth and doing it. Once the teeth come in, then you want to wipe them down. And after they eat, as they get a little older, we talk all the time about not giving your baby water. That water can be harmful to a breastfed baby. Too much water to any infant is no good. It can cause water intoxication. But little tiny sips to rinse the mouth after eating, maybe a good idea.
That slurp. I forget I have these AirPods in. So when I drink it, it's like, good. Because I just about talked myself ragged this weekend. So I'm on like over hydration right now, trying to just like get as much water as possible back in me. Speaking of overhydrating.
Overhydrating. Let me say one more thing, because this is a topic we didn't talk about very much. And I think I'm going to do a whole conversation about this, about teeth. And, I'll bring on one of my friends who's a pediatric dentist so we can talk a little bit more about it, because it's something that is sometimes misunderstood. But, dental caries or cavities in a newborn is common. The teeth are soft, and it's a lot more genetic than anything else. Obviously, you can cause it by doing a lot of sugary foods or drinks and keeping it onto the teeth, or bottles like we're talking about, which I don't think too many people are doing that much anymore. They're more aware of not doing that. But it can also just be a genetic thing where babies can be born with teeth that are just more porous. There's not as much enamel. You'll see that where some people, they don't take great care of the teeth and they never get a cavity in their life, right? And then others, they're doing everything they can and they're still getting cavities, especially in those little baby teeth. I mean, my daughter had quite a few cavities. I remember she was exclusively breastfed. She wasn't eating sugary foods or anything like that, but had a lot of little cavities in those baby teeth, and it was more of a genetic thing, and it changed once her adult teeth came in. She didn't have the same issue. So don't worry too much, and don't blame yourself. This is just one more thing to blame ourselves for.
Yep.
So don't do that.
It's a shame cycle.
Yeah, sure is.
Yep. So we've been going for an hour now.
Yeah.
Again, that's crazy. All the Facebooks go by so quick. It
does go quick. It does go quick. I want to just say, for anybody who wants to watch the Simply Breastfeeding class, you can go watch it And then if you know, the pump will come also with the breast pumps and briefcases. But for Simply Breastfeeding, go right to my website and watch it for free. And I wanted to let people know that that's available for them.
Yeah. So we'll get a link up to that under this video. And thank you all for hanging out. And don't forget to enter to win the pump. And make sure you show Evenflo some love, because they sponsor this every month and they have for years. And we're just getting information out to people. That's why we do this. Even though I always forget which, I need to look at the screen or look at the lens. It's just about getting information out there. It's like Shari and I both have these platforms. We use them for the greater good when possible.
Yeah.
And just like help people out.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. They're telling me to good luck driving. Yeah, I'm going to need it.
Oh. So here's a fun fact. I've never admitted this in a public forum. I bet you are. So I did not learn to drive until very, very late.
Mm-hmm.
I learned to drive after I turned 18. I never drove in high school. My friends had to drive me everywhere, and it was very obnoxious. But I got my driver's license, no lie, the day before I went to college. I knew how to drive.
Mm-hmm.
I just didn't go get my license. And I knew I'd need my license
Mm-hmm.
once I was in school. So I got my license the day before I went to college. And I rarely drive now. I do drive. I know how to drive.
Yeah.
And I will say it's scary when you're a better driver as an infrequent driver.
Yeah.
Than most people you're on the road with.
Well, I told her today, I said, you know what? Here's the deal. I will take you every day. She's got 6 months of this permit till she gets her license. I said, I will take you every day for at least a half an hour so you can try like different types of roads, highways, night, day, rain, whatever. I want to do it with her. She just needs to be coachable because she thinks she already knows how to drive because she had a few lessons. And I'm like, oh boy.
That ain't nothing.
Mm-mm.
It's not about the car in front of you. It's about the cars in front of that car.
So true. It's so scary. Oh my God. You know, they get older and there's just bigger problems to worry about.
And I think of my sister having to teach all those kids to drive at basically the same.
Oop, our video is like cutting out.
All right.
I think the internet's telling us it's time to go.
Okay. Well, thank you all for hanging out. Lady, I will see you later. And Evenflo, love you girls. Good to see your faces for a hot second this weekend. And I'll see y'all later.
Okay. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.